There we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Big clap. There we go. Welcome to the Founders Lounge by founders for founders. And today we have a very special guest, and you are?
Katrina Cavazos Giddens, CEO and one of the owners of Absolute Autism Therapy.
Cool. All right. That's awesome. My name is Alex Palma, founder and owner of YOLO Nerd. If you're not automating, you're not dominating. Let's go, Brent.
Yeah, I'm just going to pre-record an intro for me. We can just jump in. I'm behind the scenes in front. Brent Tinsley, headshot professional. Thanks so much for coming out to the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, super exciting. What you're doing is really changing the world and more necessary than ever. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell us about you. Absolute Autism. What is that you do?
So Absolute Autism Therapy provides in-home, in-community, and in-school services for individuals with autism throughout all of New Mexico. We've been open for about a year now, and we've been servicing pretty much all ages. I would say like our sweet spot is about like 2 to 12 years of age.
Got it.
Yep.
Cool.
And we provide services in, the comfort of their home. We work with families. We're really big on individualized programs.
That's amazing. So the way I met Katrina was through a networking event, and she was one of my very first few clients when I first started YOLO Nerd. And dude, just watching her grow from one organization to another, I just can't believe where you're at now. That's pretty crazy. So congratulations and all the success you're doing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And let me ask you another question, and I'm going to really dumb it down. What is autism? Can you help us understand a little bit better?
So autism is a diagnosis that's given to an individual that has some core areas of, I would say, for lack of better words, I'll say deficits, which tend to be in communication, social skills, and activities of daily living. A lot of that is coupled with behavioral issues. So what we do in ABA is we work with individuals that have those deficits and those behavioral issues, and we teach them replacement behaviors so that they can be included to the full extent that they can in, school, in community, in, activities with their family. So we work on decreasing the behaviors and increasing the skills.
Okay,
Better
awesome.
quality of life.
Well, this is such a buzzword in media right now. This is something I think that a lot of awareness has been brought to it. How do you feel like for someone that they suspect, you're saying 2 years old is pretty young. If you've got a parent that suspects maybe there's some sort of, I've got a pre-K and a kindergarten, and they can get pretty weird sometimes. So how, what are some things to be aware of to where you may even want to go reach out for help, or if it's not called with screening, just through your general practitioner? Like what are some things that people maybe look out for?
I would say one of the telltale signs of potentially, a red flag that could indicate a potential autism diagnosis would be lack of communication. That tends to be one of the early signs. So if you have a child who is, 12 months, not saying any words, then, you get to 18 months and there's still no speech, get them diagnosed, go see a developmental pediatrician, make sure that there's not any issues. Other than that, there are some other red flags, such as lack of eye contact, lack of responding to name, lack of following kind of simple instructions, and also not really doing a lot of requests. So there's, a varied list of red flags, but those are kind of the general ones.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
What motivated you to start this business?
So my oldest is on the spectrum, and he was in a really, I would say he was in a spot where he was almost unreachable. And the only thing that I saw made a difference with him, we weren't getting any progress with school. We weren't getting any progress ourselves as parents. And it wasn't until I started ABA therapy that I actually started seeing some progress and feeling like, oh my gosh, there is hope. And, he's starting to actually develop skills. And so that made me want to learn more, was for my son, but also I felt like, this is already a lifelong mission of mine. I felt like this was, where I needed to be.
So then ABA therapy, what does that mean? Like it's a different type of, like, for someone, I have no clue what this is. So how do you explain it to someone? Easy.
ABA therapy is it stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, and that's the therapy that's recommended by doctors, by developmental pediatricians, psychologists. Pretty much all practitioners will recommend ABA therapy for individuals who have autism because it's very intense. It's one-on-one. We work on play skills, communication. We work on trying to close that gap, especially when they're young, so that they don't fall, so that they don't fall behind, or if they do, that it's, the hope is that it's not too much.
But it's also something proven. It's something proven by science. You guys can actually get measurable results, and you see it.
Exactly. So it's a discipline that's backed by science, and it is, we take data on a daily basis. Every single intervention that we do, we're collecting data, we're manipulating if we're not seeing progress, everything is graphed. We provide all of that information to our families so they can log into the system and look at their child's progress at any point if they'd like. We have ongoing training with our parents as well so that we can provide them that information. But yeah, it's very systemized, and it's all, transparent and trackable.
And then for people, I know nowadays it's sort of tough. A lot of people get on YouTube, or things are kind of self-diagnosing or looking for things. Is there a channel that you would recommend? Do they just go to their GP or their pediatric sort of general practitioner? Or
is it more like a referral source?
Are you saying for
like if a parent suspects something, is there a way for them to go directly to your clinic, or is there a way, that they just kind of have to get a referral? Like, how is the?
Yeah. Okay. So as far as like starting services, the first step would be to get a diagnosis. So if there are, any, if autism is a potential diagnosis or they're suspecting that for their child, they would need to go see a developmental pediatrician or a psychologist. Unfortunately, ABA requires the diagnosis in order for it to be covered by insurance. So that would be the first step. And that's what we always recommend to families is go get them diagnosed. Even if you're not 100% sure, get them diagnosed, because having the diagnosis will open up, all these doors. Not only will insurance cover it, but they'll be able to get more accommodations at school and services. And, it's not anything to be scared of. Like it's more support for the child and for the family.
And there's other channels of support also as they get older. Yeah. Did you guys go through 12 years old, you said?
Oh, no. That's kind of where we tend to get a lot of patients within that window, but we're actually one of the agencies that we will work with all ages. Me and my partner, Elisa, we love working with adolescents and adults, working on, with the adolescents and adults, you're working on transitioning into like vocational roles. So working on, filling out applications and self-management skills and just being more independent, things like that. So working on schedules for them and then being able to do some of that self-evaluation, which is really cool. So we don't have an age, we don't have any specific age requirements for our families. But we do, take insurance as the primary source because, it is an expensive service. So I always try to tell family, like, get insurance. Don't do private pay because it will be
over time, and it's going to accumulate.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Within the first month. Yeah. Because our staff are, are really well trained. And so.
And you said it's one-on-one. Everything is pretty much private. It's not group therapy. It's one-on-one.
Yeah. And it's individualized. So the first thing that we do once we start is we'll do an assessment and we'll meet with the family and we'll look at past reports that have been written by speech, occupational therapy, IEPs, which is the individualized evaluation plan from schools. And we'll look at all of that to see what's already been evaluated. And then we'll do our own assessment as well to make sure that what we're doing is exactly what the family needs and what the child or the adolescent needs as well.
That's really cool that you not only work with just children, like you're not only specialized in one, like you can really just kind of take everybody. That's pretty much. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I love working with little kids. It's a lot of fun, and you see the growth, and
Yeah.
it's so rewarding. But I also love working with adolescents and adults because they really need, assistance with being independent and transitioning, and maybe living on their own. So that's also really, really interesting and rewarding as well.
Wow.
And my
variety
wife
makes
accuses
it
me
fun.
of being Aspergered out all the time. I used to work with nuclear power plants in the Navy, so I think there's probably a good amount of people that were Aspergered. For adults, I see a lot more people getting diagnosed as adults now. Even you hear Elon Musk saying that he's on the spectrum, or some of his kids are on the spectrum. Is this something that people are just becoming more aware of, or it's becoming less taboo in culture for people to actually go? And like, is this something even adults should go and not seek out an assessment, but if they suspect it is, I mean, I just feel like it's something that's more prevalent than it used to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there is, if someone thinks that they might have a diagnosis, definitely go get evaluated, because I think it would answer a lot of questions that, that individual may have had about, why do I do this a certain way? Or, and also it does still provide additional resources and accommodations. So if you have the diagnosis, then that really helps people to better understand like the issues that they're dealing with, whether it's at work or it's at school, if they're in grad school or whatever, or they're dealing with issues like even in their family life. Having the diagnosis will help the people around them also kind of better understand them. So it's never a bad idea.
All right, I'll go check into that. I'm not even joking, but yeah, maybe that'll help with behavioral stuff. So walk us through a little bit. So someone they're coming in, like how much time do you think for someone to really see progress with their child? Mm-hmm. They get into the clinic, you get a good evaluation base. They're getting the behavioral therapies, to where they can work and things. I mean, do you have some case studies or things anecdotally you can kind of share?
So that's kind of a hard question to answer, and the reason why is because autism. There's different levels of autism. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3. And also it depends on the individual's behavioral issues and just kind of, when we're doing therapy, we're basically peeling away layers like, of an onion, right? So it depends on how many layers that individual has, right? And we want to go at a pace that it's, tolerated and not further provoking challenging behaviors. One of the things that's really foundational and important in ABA is that the individual who's getting ABA actually likes the therapist. So, because if there is not, a good working relationship, that individual won't want to work with the therapist.
I think it's the same for a bartender, hairstylist, marketing person, photographer.
So
I know that's a pretty good rule of thumb in general.
Yeah. So we want to work on skills and we want to teach, right? But at the same time, we don't want to provoke the challenging behavior. So it just depends on that. On each patient is individualized. All of the therapy is individualized, and with some individuals, we have to go a little more gradual with our ramp up to make sure that we don't interfere with the relationship, the dynamic, but we still maintain instructional control over the session, and we're working towards stuff.
That's awesome. One of the something that shocked me is like there's a waiting list at one of your locations, and I'm noticing that. What made you think, or what was the road that leading to, hey, maybe I can open up more locations? How was that? How did you get there? How did you realize I can really grow this thing?
Well, there's just a massive shortage.
Really?
And we've seen basically across the board that there just aren't enough BCBAs in certain locations, and so we've had to open up. We have one location in Albuquerque right now, and we just opened up one in Farmington and another one in Las Cruces. And
there it is. There's a Spanish coming out, Las Cruces.
So the reason why we've done that is, I mean, like I said, there's a shortage, and how we've been able to offset that is we have BCBAs who provide telehealth services. So Our RBTs are, on the ground. They're doing one-on-one in the home, but our
For the acronyms, do you mind sharing a little bit? Some people may not be as familiar. I'm ex-military. It's Veterans Day. I mean, I could throw out some crazy acronyms. So for people that aren't familiar with it, maybe you said the BCBA.
Yeah, the BCBA is basically like a speech therapist, but for autism. So they're the ones that write the programs, that meet with the families, that oversee the training and support for the behavior technician that actually goes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the behavior technician would be kind of like a speech therapist assistant. And they're the ones that do implementation. So in our field, in applied behavior analysis therapy, ABA therapy, it's a two-tiered system. At least in New Mexico it is, and in a couple other states as well, where it's the BCBA and then the direct support staff, which are the RBTs, the registered behavior technicians. Now, like I said, we opened up 2 other locations. The way that we're able to grow it, even given, the limited resources in New Mexico, is by hiring very highly qualified behavior analysts from other states to do telehealth services. So like that, we're able to provide services for the more remote areas in New Mexico and families that otherwise would really not have any other providers in their area, which is great.
So they would be from their home logging into like a Zoom call type of, or they still go to a facility and.
So we do in-home services. The RBTs go into the family's home and they work one-on-one with their child. The BCBAs watch virtually.
What was the one? RB what? What was that one? RB what?
RBTs.
RBTs.
Registered behavior technicians.
Got it.
It's the people on the ground.
People
on the ground.
Like the direct support
Gotcha.
staff.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have them go in home, and then our BCBAs provide support virtually. And, that's how we've been able to continue to kind of expand and provide more access to services for more families.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
so then, but then the certifications is sort of each state sort of regulated differently or nationally. But the terminology is something that in the United States is pretty abundant across the whole country.
Right.
Not abundant.
It's a national licensure.
Okay.
Yeah. So from state to state, it would be the same. It would be BCBA, which is Board Certified Behavior Analyst, or RBT, which is Registered Behavior Technician. The only thing that, I guess some states are a little different, but for the most part, that's the same across the board.
And y'all are needing more staff. Y'all are needing.
Yeah, definitely. So
we'll make sure we put a thing on LinkedIn saying,
hey. We're pretty picky with who we bring on because we're really big on quality services and making sure that if we're sending someone in the home, that they're trained, that they have experience. So yes, we're always looking for qualified staff, and we will do, additional training as well. If they have, autism experience as like working in the school with individuals with autism, or a parent. I love hiring parents of individuals with have autism, because they are just phenomenal. They have the patience and the compassion. So any parents out there,
what should
looking for a job, let us know.
What should a parent ask before choosing a clinic? What should they be looking for?
I would say ask them what are their ratios of supervision versus support. Me as a parent, I've had quite a bit of experience with different providers myself, and not everyone's expectations for their BCBAs is the same. We foster our dynamic, and our culture is really big on support for families and lower caseloads for our BCBAs. So we always bill 20%. That's what we shoot for. What that means is that our BCBAs who provide support and oversight for our staff are doing so on a 20% basis. I've worked with agencies, and I know of agencies that will only do 5% or 10%, which means that the BCBAs are overwhelmed with more cases, and the family's not getting the support or the staff at the level that I think that they should. So that's one of the things I would ask is, how much support do your BCBAs actually provide the staff? and how accessible are they to me, as a parent.
When you're saying 20%, that's like a 5 people per one ratio, or time ratio, or
I need to be a little bit better about explaining things. So
it's not just us, everybody.
Everybody.
Like, I'm not as familiar with your field, so I'm just interested.
For example, if we have approved 30 hours a week of ABA therapy for an individual, then the BCBA gets 20% of that. So if we have 30 hours approved, the BCBA is approved to supervise 6 hours, which means that they would be watching sessions. They would be watching 6 hours of sessions throughout the week, which is so
it's per person. Yeah. Okay. So that individualized person, they're getting 20% of coverage from a higher level supervision, and they're given the therapies and everything else for that the person to implement. And
it's for the staff. So that BCBA has 6 hours for that, like that example, right? If it's a 30-hour case, they get 6 hours a week where they can clock in and watch sessions. They can update targets. They can adjust interventions if needed. They can, basically be available to the family. And then they also get an hour of parent training a week. So our BCBAs are doing the maximum amount of supervision, and they're available to their families for an hour every week if the family wants. And not every agency has that, that commitment to the family. So that would be one of the first things that I would recommend if somebody's looking for services, is to ask, how many hours of supervision will my BCBA actually be watching and supporting and updating targets and be there for us?
And you mentioned earlier, like actually, someone like they get along with them well. They feel a good chemistry.
I'm sorry.
You were saying earlier that also each therapist needs to have a better chemistry with the person. It's going to be a better result.
Right. So that's with the patient, right? So, and that's important for the BCBA to observe as well, because if the BCBA is available to observe sessions, they can adjust targets. They can adjust the way things are being taught. If they're there and they're observing and they're seeing that, okay, maybe this is not progressing like we'd want, let's go ahead and make those adjustments. Or if they're seeing that the patient is getting, something's becoming aversive, or it's no longer, what we're doing is no longer working, and they're not being reinforced by the reinforcers. Sorry, I know I'm getting
no, you're fine. You're good.
The BCBA can make those adjustments like on the spot, and we can ensure that progress is moving quickly versus waiting, a week or two. So,
time's the essence. You're really trying to keep the ball moving forward. And then these families, they're really, I know some people that have special needs children. Is that a proper term? I don't even know the proper terms anymore. I'm not very PC. So, special needs children, and it can be a huge challenge on your relationship, your family, your other children. It's a lot of resource and time that goes into it. So it's amazing y'all have this available. So now nationally there's funding or insurance or things that support this, where people can make progress and really get integrated in better.
Yeah. So it's for the most part covered by, I would say, all commercial insurances will cover it for the most part, as well as Medicaid. So that's lovely that now Medicaid covers ABA and
is it regulated by different states?
Yeah, every state is different. Every state is different, but it's for the most part, it should be covered as long as you have Medicaid or commercial insurance.
What would you say is the one thing that would help a family the fastest? That's very broad, I know.
Right. So, okay, if there is a suspected diagnosis of autism, I would recommend two things. First, I would recommend getting the child evaluated because, like I said, if they have that diagnosis, it opens up doors to services. Without the diagnosis, you can't get ABA covered, and ABA can be life-changing. But aside from that, you also need to make sure that there are no medical issues. There are a lot of comorbidities, which is, can cause behavioral issues, especially if there's a lack of communication. So that's the other side of the coin, that if there are medical issues that are untreated, then that's going to slow down progress. So that's the other thing that I would highly recommend. And we always rule out is if we see, head banging, self-injurious behavior, those are usually telltale signs that there is something going on, whether it's, headaches or other sources of pain, discomfort. So definitely get a full evaluation and make sure that there aren't any other issues that maybe can be easily treated, right?
Mm-hmm. Let me. So, how does a family find a great therapist? What should they do? How should they start their research? Like, what's the first step?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
it's kind of a very touchy subject. You know what I mean? Yeah, so, like, did you just get on the phone and just smile and dial and visit a couple of therapists and see which one they like? How do you do it?
I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, if you're licensed, then you know your stuff for the most part, because the exam is no joke. To become a BCBA is, more often than not, people take the test multiple times before they pass. It is grueling. It really is a very long process. So if they're licensed, they know their stuff. Now, whether the actual individual is, the same type of, like, I don't know if they teach in a learning style that the family likes, or that can vary, right? So you kind of do have to ask around. There's a lot of autism groups on social media that you can join, and you can ask, do you have any recommendations of BCBAs in my area? This is kind of my family dynamic, and this is what we're looking for. I would say that's probably a good place to start. Now, whether they're qualified or not, if they're licensed, they are. Because like I said, it is a hard exam. But whether they're a good fit for your family or not, then yeah, that's kind of just doing your own research and trial and error.
So let's say somebody in your industry wants to open up a clinic. What would you say is the 3 steps? Where do you start?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So if they want to open up a clinic,
yes,
I would say first ask yourself why. What? Because insurance is not fun. So what are your reasons for doing it? And it's got to be more than, the financial part, because there are going to be a lot of periods where you are going to, hit some pretty low lows. So I would say the first thing would be ask yourself, like, what is your why in doing this? And then go from there. There's a lot of steps to becoming, an actual owner of an agency, whether it's a clinic or it's in-home. That I can talk with you guys for hours on that, because that is long. But first thing I would say is, yeah, I mean, what's your reason? And it's got to be good, you know, because it's not always fun being at the top, So it's like putting out a lot of fires.
Oh yeah, I remember you started Oklahoma, then lower part of Texas, and then New Mexico, and you're killing it. And I think last time we spoke, you had one location in New Mexico, and then we got back on the phone like, oh, we're opening more. So that's amazing.
Yeah, we I would say I probably sometimes am a bit ambitious with things, but I just love ABA, and I love seeing families. I love to see the change in how, families can go from, being in a place of chaos to a place of peace. And not saying that that's going to happen overnight, but as you see your child progress, like, the entire family dynamic changes,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about in-home. The clinic services are great, and sometimes that's what you have to do, especially if you have to go to work, right? I get it. But in-home is just, it's so awesome, because you get to teach the parents, and the parents get to, there's complete transparency. They get to see what's going on, and they can have input into the sessions and let us know, hey, that looks great, but we're having some issues outside. So let's maybe work on, safety skills, or let's work on following instructions outside of the home. Let's work on instructions that are specific to the grocery store, things like that. So it's pretty cool. And I don't know, that's why I keep growing. Because I love to see the change, and
that's awesome.
It's rewarding.
Yeah.
Really make an impact for people. So are there a couple of, so it's a specific type of therapy you're doing to make these changes. I've got little kids. Is there something that even for regular people, or it's not, I'm not a trained therapist, but there are techniques or things that work kind of across the board, or it's sort of specific for people with sensory differences?
Give us some tips.
Like what's a couple tips for me as a parent, or even not even me. I have so many friends, their kids are violent. I'm like, what's wrong with your kid? I don't know. I'm born in 80, corporal punishment. I don't smack my kids, but they know that I would. They can sense it. I don't have to, but I'm not bluffing. They know, like, hey, I'm not really going to mess with dad. I think is it a level?
I called her a few times freaking out, man. My kids freak out. I'm like, hey, help me out. My first one, he's pretty chill, but my second one is like a Texas tornado.
Yeah, you told me.
My little princess, she's a little nightmare. I get on the phone calls and she's
like, are there, I don't know, this gentle parenting versus the old school, or timeout? Like in general, not as a therapist, sort of disclosure, not like therapy advice or something, but is there things that you see that could work across the board for people, just if they're watching this randomly and like, okay, maybe I can handle things differently with my kid next time? Or
yeah, definitely. So I would say one of the most important things that we can do as a parent, from what I've learned with ABA, is praise the good behaviors. A lot of times we tend to focus on all of the things that are going wrong, right? So my child is tantruming, my child is, disrespectful, my child is engaging in challenging behaviors at school. And we focus on that. We kind of hyper focus on that versus focusing on all the times that they are doing, things right. So we just need to flip that script.
Mm-hmm.
The more that we reinforce the good behaviors, the more that you're giving your child attention for doing the positive things, the more that they'll want to engage in those behaviors. So, and I'm sure would be something I say we can all do.
How do you positively reinforce a behavior that you want to?
It depends on your child. So that's the key, is finding out what reinforces your child. So for some children, it's verbal praise. For some children, it's
like a physical hug, or
it could be physical,
or they hit one time with a toy or something that they like.
Yeah, for some kids, it's access to activities, access to toys. It just depends on, each individual. It's different, but you'd want to reinforce that. So, if you've been asking your kid to sit down and read, and they have been refusing, and they finally one day sit down and read, make a big deal about it. If they like ice cream, I'm going to take you for ice cream. I'm so proud of you. You did that on your own. Make a big deal about those wins versus
so the carrot and stick, a big carrot, but
yes, versus making a big deal about when they don't, because attention is attention.
Yeah, bad or good.
Right, attention is attention, and we want to make sure that we're giving the attention as much as possible for the things that they're doing right. And then if there's something that didn't go so well, maybe not provide so much of a reaction in those situations.
Just ignore it.
Especially when you're having a bad day.
Ignore it.
I should start using this. This is like good marriage advice. I'll start using this with my wife. So I see like a lot of times the parents, I think with people are busier than ever. We don't have a lot of time. Like my wife's a flight attendant. I have a photography studio. So we're almost like switching out parenting sometimes. But I see other parents too, where you'll see the behavior of the kids gets so much, but it might be because mom's just on the phone, not paying attention. And the only way they get their attention.
Exactly.
And not even in a sensory issue, just in general. Then they get at least some attention. So some attention, it's like the media is any kind of press is better than no press, or
right. Yeah.
Sort of similar example. For any attention's better than no attention. To be ignored is worse than just having some bad attention.
I'm sure you've done some evaluations where you walk in, I'm like, oh, this kid is doing little bit better than the parents.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, how do you go about with the parents?
Yeah,
Like,
how do
hey,
you do
listen,
that? Like, you need to calm down.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's the same thing, carrot and stick. Kind of like, you're doing such a great job.
Kind
You
of.
weren't on your phone the whole therapy lesson.
The parents, because you definitely, yeah. Well, there's years and years and years, right, of learned behavior there. So when it comes to parents, I honestly feel like modeling is the best teacher. So what I mean by that is we have the RBTs in the home, and the RBTs are able to show the parents exactly how to manage the behavior, how to, based off of the interventions that we're doing. So the parents can watch, and that's the best way to teach, because we're not directly saying, okay, you're messing up here. You need to do this different. They're able to see by observation how we're implementing and how, oh wow, my child is actually not tantruming so long when they're doing, when they're not responding, and they're instead reinforcing all of the appropriate behaviors, like sitting quietly, like keeping their hands to themselves, or completing a task, whatever it is that they're working on. And over time, the parents will pick up and say, oh, okay, let me try that. Let me try to do that differently.
They're seeing it work, and they're like, obviously, it's working.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay.
And that's like I said, one of the reasons why I really love in-home is because the parents get to watch, and it's complete transparency. Sometimes if you have a child who is unable to speak, it can be kind of scary dropping them off, because you don't know what's going on. You don't know how they're being treated, and you're able to see everything in the home.
Do you ever run into situations where it's just like mom's all in, dad's like, just fix the kid, I don't want to be involved? You ever run into those?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. There's not a lot of that, to be honest.
Really?
More often than not, what I see is just different parenting styles. It's not necessarily that one parent is all in versus the other, but it might be like one just doesn't provide a lot of a reaction, whereas another one just doesn't think it's a big deal, things like that. And that can be a bit of a challenge, just because they're both just different personalities.
And the kid's getting mixed signals. And
Right, the mixed signals, exactly. So with ABA, you either do the same intervention across the board, or sometimes it's better off to not even do it at all, because it's like it's intermittent reinforcement if you don't keep the schedule the same, which can be more reinforcing than having done nothing at all. So it's really important that consistency is there, whether the parents have different behaviors or not. If we're going to do an intervention and they're good with us doing this intervention, the parents have to follow through, so that we can make the progress that they want to see. But we would talk to the parent, of course, and make sure that everything sounds good to them and they're on board. So we always get parent buy-in before we do anything.
Now,
They can read the treatment plan and everything.
is it different by age? Like, for an example, let's just say a kid, an adolescent child, I don't know, let's go with teen, 16-year-old to, let's just say 18. Is the therapy sessions a lot longer? Is it just more spread out versus a younger set? Like, how does that work? What have you noticed? Or is it just very different per case?
It kind of goes back to that, to that first, I think at the beginning when we were talking about if there was a way to gauge progress, or to kind of give like some like clinical or case studies. It's kind of hard to say that, because it's kind of hard to answer that, because there are varying levels, right? So even though an individual is 16 or 18, which is older, if they're more severely affected with the communication skills, the activities of they have less skills within like daily living skills, then they would require more support. So it just depends on the individuals. We work with individuals. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 tends to be like the social skills issues. That would be more like what used to be Asperger's is now level 1.
So the term is level 1.
It's now level 1. And so that's,
Yeah, they got rid of it. You need to say level 1 then.
Honey.
You're a level 1 now, son.
Don't call me that. I'm level 1.
I'm a level 2.
And so
I moved up.
level 2, level 3 are going to, level 1 tends to have like less needs, so the
High functioning.
yeah, so they won't really need a whole lot of support at the age of 14, 16, 18. It would be more working on them understanding like nonverbal cues, idioms, self-management skills, being able to kind of self-regulate some of their emotions. And
You see some of even these TV shows where there's an Asperger doctor or a level 1 doctor that's functioning. They have a lot of these shows now, I feel like, that
Right.
are bringing more awareness to.
yeah,
I don't watch TV, but I've seen clips from some of these TV shows. So it's,
yeah. So those individuals really don't need a whole lot of support. So
they need a good dating coach, though. They're usually not good at dating.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And that would be something that we have also worked with individuals that are, adolescents level 1, as we've worked with them on like what's appropriate in their interactions with the opposite sex and what's not, and kind of gone through scenarios with them. So, the therapy is very individualized. And, the levels, make it so that we have to be very client focused.
And then 2 to 3, we kind of digress there. So we get
3 would so 2 to 3 typically has less communication skills. Level 2 to 3 can have some speech, but maybe not a whole lot of functional speech. And then nonverbal as well would be within that 2 to 3 range. And it just it's not just the speech; it can also be like independence, right? Personal hygiene, the social skills as well, understanding like appropriate versus inappropriate, and social interactions with others would be definitely still affected. The social skills part is every level.
You as a founder and a business owner, what is the biggest mistake you made, and what did you learn from it?
Man, I've made a lot of mistakes.
We made
learning
two.
opportunities. Come on.
We're learning.
It's just learning opportunity.
Learning opportunity.
Oh goodness.
In your field, what did it teach you?
Goodness. Okay.
Hire slow and fire fast.
My head would be. Wait, what?
Hire slow and fire fast.
Oh, there. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Mine, but
I would say probably it's important to be kind of picky. In the end, it benefits everyone if we take our time and make sure that the staff that we're bringing on are in it for the right reasons, and that they have a background with autism in some capacity. That is huge. That is so crucial. I think when I first started out, I would see individuals and see the potential in them, and see that, they had the right demeanor, they had the right, like they were patient individuals, but they didn't have that experience. So there was really no guarantee that they were going to make this a career. And that kind of turned into a lot of like kind of an open door.
See, I've kind of had that same challenge. I've hired experienced folks, and I've hired new blood, and it can weigh a little bit differently, because sometimes I had people that are super experienced, and then they get out there and they're not my best performers. And sometimes I hire a new blood, train them up, rock and roll.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not 100%, right? But in my experience, because the individuals that we're sending out into the home become an extension of the family, I've just learned that it's better to find people who have had experience with autism and are making this a career, because if they're pursuing this and they're, getting licensed, and they're already in like 3 years in, 4 years in, working with individuals with autism and special needs, then that's definitely a passion. And that's somebody that is going to be really relatable to the family.
Easier to coachable. They're coachable. They're easier.
More compassionate.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So I have to be a little picky, in my field.
I don't blame you.
Because of that, because of the relationship aspect that comes with it. But I mean, we have hired people as well who haven't had a ton of experience, who have been, rock stars. So it's not always, 100%, but.
And so do you do like weekly trainings with your staff? So for an example, YOLO Nerd, we have a Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays meetings. It's like a 30-minute powwow. We call it our moneymaker meetings. Well, we go over numbers, and then after the meeting, I'll kind of train with our sales staff. How does it work with you guys?
So that's the supervision, the 20% that I was talking about. So our agency works on a 20% ratio. So if there are the 30 hours, for example, for a patient, then our BCBA would be meeting with them and training with them 6 hours every week. So it's very heavy support.
Yeah.
And that is what I think really helps not just the parents and the family and the child, but it helps our staff and helps with retention, because our staff never feel like they're on an island on their own. They can reach out to us at any point, and either the BCBA will supervise them, I'll jump in, our clinical director will jump in. There's always support. So I think, yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the question?
That answers the question. Yeah. I don't know. How you do it, Brent? How do you do it?
Just chilling.
How do you do it with your staff, Brent? Weekly meetings? You just let them do what they got to do?
Yeah, I don't hire in the United States. I can say what I want to say without getting sued. I don't know. I'm ex-military and I grew up on a dirt road in Alabama. I have a different approach, but I don't know. I probably wouldn't be the best with your staff. I don't know. Not out in the family. I'm a very caring, compassionate person, but I don't have a lot of patience.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, from what I've seen, the hiring's got to be different, right? For every business.
Yeah, every
right?
business, every different role. And
yeah.
What would you say is some of the biggest myths in autism?
I would say one of the biggest myths is that just because a person can't speak, they don't understand. That is one of the biggest myths. And I have seen time and time again that when you start teaching and you start working with them, they start learning. And then the families are just kind of in awe, like, oh, wow, like he's actually picking that up, or, she's progressing in that area. That's, something that we didn't know if he or she could be capable of. Now, I'm not trying to overpromise, but that is one of the biggest myths of
What are you saying? There's no guarantees? Just
right. Well, but yeah, that's one of the biggest myths is that, lack of speech means lack of understanding. That's definitely.
You got people like even cases old school, like Helen Keller, but which is more hearing or sight deficiency. So it's got to be a little tough, huh? Sometimes if they're trying to figure out if it's more of an actual sensory or if it's more, I don't know, this neurological or a wiring, or I don't know. How do you explain, or how does the difference? I mean, it's got to be diagnosed differently from just being deaf or blind versus that. But it's a young age. It's got to be pretty difficult. I don't know. It's not a lot to go with from an infant or toddler. I mean, it's
right. So the vision and the hearing would be ruled out, right, by the pediatrician. So that would be one of the first things that, like, as I mentioned, they need to get the diagnosis by the developmental pediatrician.
Get the diagnosis.
Yes, get the diagnosis if you think there is suspected autism, but then also go get a full, evaluation by your pediatrician. Make sure that there aren't, vision, hearing, gut issues, food intolerances, allergies. There's, a whole list of potential issues that could be causing some of the behavioral issues. So,
and you guys don't go into any of the nutritional stuff. It's more behavioral side. So I've seen a lot of things. I don't know. I don't have anybody I know directly with autism, but I've seen people with cases, things from dietary interventions that have made big differences. But I think even to me, if I'm hungry, my mood's different. You know what I mean? Versus if I'm eating well or sleeping well. You know what I mean? Circadian rhythm or.
Yeah. So we would. So we're only able to work within our scope, which is, assessing behaviorals and skill deficits and teaching. Outside of that, if we do observe anything, then we would recommend the families get, an evaluation. So and a lot of it is observable, right? So if you see a child grabbing their head, pretty regularly, that's usually an indication that there's headaches. If you see them, leaning over on the side of a sofa, that's usually an indication of like gut issues, or if they're pushing on their stomach. So usually there's some observable signs that will help us kind of guide the family to, get those evaluations and just rule out, potential medical issues. But yeah, we would just work on the actual skill deficits and the behaviors and try to help the individual with within our scope.
What advice would you give a parent that's already working with an agency and it's just not working? What are the signs they can look for?
Let me think about this one. So if they are working with an agency and it's not working, definitely speak up. You are your child's voice. You are their, you are their activist. So, any issues that you're having, voice your concerns. There could be changes to the interventions that the BCBA can make. But if the BCBA does not know that the family is not happy or not seeing the progress or wants to work on additional targets, then they can't make those changes.
Have you ever had to like swap out a BCBA? You ever had to swap one out? Yeah, I get it. Okay.
And it comes down to, like I said, the whole, sometimes like a person's, just not a good fit.
It's not a good fit. Yeah, I get it.
Like some BCBAs are a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more easygoing, and other ones are a little bit more, assertive. So it's not always a good fit, and that's okay. If that's the issue, then just speak up and talk to the clinical director and let them know that it's not working. But before you do that, address the concerns with the BCBA, give them an opportunity to make those changes, because it could be something that they could change. And switching out your whole team for your child is kind of like starting from scratch. So really? I don't advise that. Wow. Every time that there's a switch, the BCBA is having to learn that child. So if that BCBA has been working with that child for, 6 months, a year, they have a really good understanding of what the issues are, what are the things that child will work for, what are the things that they don't like, what are their triggers. So switching your team because you're not happy without giving them an opportunity will actually slow down the progress. So really, I would say talk to the BCBA, talk to the staff, advocate for your child before you make that switch.
As business owners, when I have meetings with my staff, we're looking at KPIs, how many sales, what do the numbers look like? Is that kind of the same thing, a little bit different with the structure of like if the BCBA is progressing with the child and the family? Is that how you kind of do it, or how does it work? Is it by a charting system that you have, or?
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
So every single intervention that we have for each child has data. So every day that there's services, RBTs, the registered behavior technicians that go and do the direct services, they have to run what's called trials. So every instance of teaching is a trial, and each trial is tracked. So if they got it complete, if they got it correct, incorrect, did they use a certain method of prompting? All of that is stored in the child's profile and graphed. So we are able to see at any point what the child is, how they're progressing with each individual target, how many targets have they mastered, which ones are they not progressing. So we are able to see kind of how things are moving for the child, and make edits if there's not enough progress. So the family can always ask for that. They can always ask, hey, I want to see the data. I want to see the graphs. I want to see how many targets has my child mastered and which ones, and then talk with the BCBA if there's not enough progress in the areas where they really, really need to see the progress. Because there's also there's certain targets that are more of a priority versus others.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned a lot.
Wow.
Level 1.
Level 1.
I'm really big on recommending families rule out medical
Really?
because, yes, because I have seen so many situations where behaviors are due to medical issues. So I would say go to TACA.org, which is a website.
We'll put it up.
Stands for Talk About Curing Autism. Their goal is not to cure autism, but their goal is to make sure that individuals with autism are getting treated for anything that could be contributing. There is a really cool tab on that website where you can look up behavioral issues and potential medical issues that could be causing those behavioral issues, and then you can go to your doctor and rule those out. Make sure that those are not causing the behaviors. So that is the first thing. Before you do ABA, before you start reading up and doing interventions, rule out the medical. Because if there's medical issues and the child is tantruming because they're in pain, like
It's just a severe colic situation. Yeah, it's a different thing. They have some sort of severe digestive thing.
see, the individuals that we're servicing are feeling good. They're not in pain and discomfort, and there's really not a whole lot that ABA can do if the individual is not feeling well. So that would be
that's huge.
my first recommendation, my biggest recommendation: rule out the medical.
And so Brent and I like to say is, how do they get a hold of you? What if someone says, I saw this video and I want to work with Katrina only?
Okay. Or you would call us on our phone number, or you can go to our contact us or getting started tab on our website, www.absoluteautism.com. Send us a link. We will call you. So as soon as we get either a phone call or an inquiry on our website, our office admin team will reach out to you same day and get your information, check benefits, request an assessment if that is, what the family's wanting, the in-home services, and we'll get things moving. We're really quick. We're really passionate about what we do. And so we don't drag our feet, and we'll move things quickly. Of course, we're working at the speed of insurance. The caveat is that we do have to wait on the approvals from insurance.
Those guys.
Quick.
I've been working with you for a really long time now, and every time I get on the phone with you, it's been a pleasure. It's so easy to work with. You're so easy to work with.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Same.
you're so easy. So yeah, call Katrina.
Katrina, thank you so much for
thank you for coming.
Thanks for sharing your story.
Yes,
and thank you for all the impact you're having on. I mean, how many families? It's amazing how many families are having a better quality of life because of the work you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be in this position.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
Let's go.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
It's not too bad.
No.
It wasn't as like her niece.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't shaking. I was